Question 7. Antonio. One can live a life of moderation by never deviating from the middle course. But then one loses the joy of spontaneity and misses the opportunities that come to those who are occasionally willing to take great chances or to go too far. So let's pause there looking at Antonio's statement's argument or set of facts. And you notice it's really just a statement of facts, that it's possible to live a life of moderation without deviating, but not in your best interest because you're going to lose the joy of spontaneity and miss opportunities that come to those who are occasionally willing to take great chances. Turning our attention to Marla, but one who in the interests of moderation never risks going too far is actually failing to live a life of moderation. One must be moderate even in one's moderation. So you notice we have a couple of statements here, and clearly we have a disagreement between Antonio and Marla. And we look to the question statement, Antonio and Marla disagree over, so we have a point at issue question. So again, looking for something that one of these people would agree with and the other would disagree with. And you notice this disagreement between Antonio and Marla clearly deals with life of moderation. Because Antonio's first sentence is that one can live a life of moderation by never deviating from the middle course. Marla, on the other hand, believes that one who in the interest of moderation never risks going too far is actually failing to live a life of moderation because one must be moderate even in one's moderation. So keeping that in mind, let's go through the answer choices now and try to find the answer choice that Antonio would either agree or disagree with and Marla would do the opposite. So A, whether it is desirable for people occasionally to take great chances in life. Well, Antonio definitely seems to agree with that because if you're going to say one loses the joy of spontaneity and misses the opportunities that come to those who are occasionally willing to take great chances, you could supply that it's desirable for people to occasionally take great chances in life. So it seems like Antonio agrees with A. The problem with A is, do we have any idea what Marla thinks about A? And you notice Marla doesn't really mention it. All she says is one who in the interest of moderation never risks going too far is actually failing to live a life of moderation. Nothing about whether this is desirable or not desirable. So A does not follow because we do not know Marla's opinion. So A is out. B, what a life of moderation requires of a person. Is that the disagreement? Well, what did Antonio say a life of moderation requires? His first sentence is that one can live a life of moderation by never deviating from the middle course. And you notice Antonio clearly would agree with that. That is what Antonio's first sentence says. But what about Marla? And you notice Marla says one who in the interests of moderation never risks going too far is actually failing to live a life of moderation. One must be moderate even in one's moderation. So Marla would disagree that one can live a life of moderation by never deviating from the middle course. And you notice Antonio agrees, Marla disagrees, so B here would be the point at issue and it would be the correct answer. But again, let's just make sure, checking the rest of the answer choices here. C, whether it is possible for a person to embrace other virtues along with moderation. Other virtues, neither discuss that idea. So we do not know their opinion on C. So C is out. D, how often a person ought to deviate from the middle course in life. Again, ought to. This is not really a prescriptive argument by either Antonio or Marla. It's just about what the definition of moderation is, a life of moderation. We really don't know what they think people should do. It's just about whether you can live a life of moderation without deviating from the middle course, not about whether this is advisable or not. So D is out. And then lastly, checking E, whether it is desirable for people to be moderately spontaneous. And again, you notice same problem. This is not about desirability. You could argue that Antonio would agree with that because you would lose the joy of spontaneity and miss opportunities that come to those who are willing to take great chances. So I guess you could argue that Antonio would agree that it is desirable, But you notice we don't have Marla's opinion on whether this is desirable or not. She's just saying those people who, in the interest of moderation, never risk going too far are not living a life of moderation, because to be moderate, you must be moderate even in your moderation, which would mean that you deviate sometimes from the middle course. So E again would be eliminated. B, the point at issue, because what B says, what a life of moderation requires of a person, is what this disagreement is about. Because again, Antonio believes that you can live a life of moderation by never deviating from the middle course, where clearly Marla believes that one must be moderate even in one's moderation, so one cannot live a life of moderation by never deviating from the middle course.